Calling the May 14th, 2024 Everett Public Schools Board of Directors meeting to order. We will begin our meeting with our brand new land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the original inhabitants of this area, the Shahubs people, their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered on, and taken care of these lands and waters. We respect their sovereignty, their right of self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. In Everett Public Schools, we strive to create equitable outcomes and build a culture of inclusive belonging for all students, teachers, staff, and community. And now we'll move on to the flag salute. If everyone can please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the secretary please call the roll?
President Mitchell.
Present.
Vice President Herman.
Present.
Director Atkins.
Present.
Director Mason.
Present.
Director Revelinsky.
Present.
Student Representative Gilbertson.
Present.
Student Representative Kink.
I will now move on to the adoption of the agenda. Dr. Saltzman, have there been any changes to the agenda since it was published?
Good evening, Madam Chair, and to the public, to the board. Madam Chair, there have been no changes to the agenda since publishing.
Thank you so much. So the agenda will be approved by general consent. We'll now move on to recognition. I think Dr. Bowden, you are doing our first recognition tonight.
Good evening, President Mitchell, Board Directors, Dr. Saltzman, and members of the public. I am very honored tonight to present two students who receive regional awards from the Northwest Educational Service District 189. In celebration of student art, the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, or OSPI, sponsors an annual Superintendent's High School Art Show. And for over 50 years, it's been a favorite for many, including us. It is the culmination of a selection process that begins across the state in each of the 9 educational service districts, or ESDs. And in the winter, teachers submit student artwork to their local ESD's regional art show. Regional winners selected at each ESD are sent to OSPI to review by a jury of artists, arts administrators, and art educators. Selected pieces are elevated for special recognition along with nominations from the governor and several statewide education and arts organizations. And we know we have so many talented artists in our schools, and this is really an amazing honor for these two students to be recognized for their work at the regional level. Our first student that we honor this evening is Natalia Villarreal, an 11th grader from Jackson High School. Natalia is here this evening. Natalia, will you please step up to the podium with me? So we may honor you. Yeah. Natalia was named the 2024 regional winner for digital art from the Northwest ESD 189 for her artwork titled In My Own World, which you can see displayed here. Natalia, to share in this honor, we have your teacher, Miss Kaya Smith, and she's going to come up and say a few words. You can stand right here. Would you kindly hold that? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Congratulations, Natalia.
Thank you.
So I have Natalia in my AP art class, and she's creative, talented, and hardworking student. The attributes that reflect in her awarded piece, as you can see. When I asked her about her inspiration, she said, "I like drawing walls because they represent adaptation and perseverance to me, which is what being an artist is all about." And I really appreciate you saying that. She compares her vibrant color usage to alhebrias, emphasizing her Mexican culture. I enjoyed her journey in AP art, where she explored media from the cave painters to contemporary artists using AI technologies. Her in-depth focus led her to challenge current thinking and develop a completely unique perspective on her topic. Once again, congratulations, Natalia. You are one of a kind.
Thank you.
Can we please give Natalia a very big round of applause? Right over here in front of the dais, and then there's one more recipient, and then we'll do a group photo with the board. Okay. Thank you. Our second student that we honor this evening is Charlie Euler, an 11th grader from Everett High School. Is Charlie here this evening? Oh, unfortunately, she is not here, and neither is her teacher, but I have a statement to read. Thank you. I shall do that. This is Charlie's piece, Summertime Memories. And Charlie was named the 2024 regional winner for drawing and earning the Central Washington University Scholarship from the Northwest ESD 189 for her artwork entitled Summertime Memories. And even though Charlie is not here and her teacher, Ms. Amy Leggett from Everett High, was unable to join us this evening, I do have a statement that she shared. Ms. Leggett says, I've had the pleasure of working with Charlie over the past 3 years. Charlie has taken Intro to Drawing, Intro to Ceramics, and AP Studio Art 2 years in a row. This year, Charlie has produced a series of breathtaking self-portraits that visually communicate intimate moments of the human experience, as you can see. Charlie is one of the most reliable, mature, and self-motivated students I have experienced in a long time. She pushes herself to reach and stretch her skills to new heights, and I am so excited to spend one more year with Charlie as she builds her final high school portfolio, compiling all of her beautiful work into a single narrative of growth and creative discovery. I can't wait to see what she does. Charlie, we're gonna have so much fun. You'll have to hear this in Miss Leggett's voice. She also wants to say congratulations to Charlie because you so very much deserve this recognition. And to Charlie's family, thank you for supporting your kiddo to explore their passions. Your trust in her has been well placed. She will go on to do amazing things because of the space you made for her to truly find what she loves. Can we please give these outstanding young student artists a huge round of applause? And I'm gonna switch back and you wanna facilitate this part.
You guys want to stand right in the middle and the board will stand up behind you and
Get the art in the background.
Oh, that'd be great.
You can get a good picture from her.
whatever you want to do. Okay.
Great idea to get that art in the background.
Well, actually, she put it up. I just figured we'd stand in the
All
middle
right,
of it.
1, 2, 3. Do you want one in it? Do you want one inside? Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good evening, Dr. Saltzman, President Mitchell, and Board of Directors, student representatives, and to the public. It is my honor this evening to welcome Cam2 Vo up here with me. Cam2 is the PTSA Council's Reflections Chair. She can talk to you a little bit about the reflections, but we are honoring 2 students this evening who have won national level awards in Reflections, which is the PTSA's art competition, art contest. So Cam2, do you want to talk a little bit about what these students did and how they got to this level? And then we're actually going to have the pleasure of hearing a composition and seeing a dance by these 2 young artists.
Thank you. I just wanted to recognize these 2 students for doing a fabulous job. Not only did they win first in council, which this year we had 13 schools within the Everett School District participated, and they won first in their category, which is dance, choreography, and music composition. Then they went to state and won first for outstanding interpretation for the same category and division. Then, not only that, they went to national and both won second for awards of excellence in their category. Do you want me to?
Thank you. And, you know, a few weeks ago, we were here and we were honoring the work that our PTSA Council and PTSA chapters do. And this is just one of the many things that they do. And I want to thank Cam2 and her team for organizing. It's a lot of work. And I know a lot of joy in organizing the Reflections events and competition here at the council. So I'm going to.
Can I interrupt really quickly?
Yeah.
Because it's in here, but could we please meet these two young ladies, their names and their schools?
Yes.
Unless that was already in your. Yeah.
Both of these students are from Mill Creek Elementary School. Their principal is here. And we will be here seeing the dance choreography by Pahal Thacker. And then we will be hearing the music composition by Donya Wixom. So I am going to, and then we'll have certificates and we'll do a picture as well, okay? So I'm going to turn it over to Kathy Reeves, who's going to manage the.
Do you want to sit in the front row when we'll have you do your dance first, okay? We're going to just right over here on the side. That's the camera right there. We want to make sure. Okay? Right over there. Fine? Yeah. Which way does she face, Jared, to dance? The board? Towards the owl. Towards, that's an owl. Okay? Thank you. That was amazing. Now we're going to have you take a picture once we have the other performance, okay? The next one, you wrote this and played it, right? That's your piano teacher, but you wrote it. Okay, this is amazing. So this is a original composition that she wrote and her piano teacher played it. This isn't it. That didn't sound right. That's not the right one.
Was it the Donya Wuxum MP3 that's sort of halfway down?
There it is. Okay, sorry. Too much music. There we go.
Now, if these two, Pehal and Donya, if you want to come back up here, we have certificates for you. The theme for this year's reflection was I am hopeful because. I am hopeful because we have people like this in the world. Congratulations. Congratulations. Amazing work, my fifth graders.
Yes.
And we'd love to have a picture of you.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. We have some parents who want to take some pictures, principal. Keep smiling. Okay, thank you very much.
It's just the best kind of night. All right, now we'll move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Saltzman.
Good evening and congratulations again to our students. Wow, such talent, wonderful. Good evening, Madam Chair, Board Directors, and to the public this evening. Ready, Kathy? Okay.
Almost.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. Good evening. I would like to give the public some upcoming projects and some business that's happening around the district. We have a few big communications and technology projects that are up and underway, and I want to make sure that you are familiar with it and know about it. The website is changing to a platform to final site. Content migration started yesterday and will take through the end of the school year. So we are busy now getting that ready. Work on site and training will happen over the summer. So in the summer, a lot of our trainings take place, so it's ready by the fall. The new site will go live right before the new school year. School and teacher texting is changing to remind of Parent Square. It'll be Parent Square. Back-end technology of this is now being completed. Training has started and will continue through the summer. I want to remind everybody that no longer will be available on July 1. Only Parent Square can be used on texting from that point on, beginning July 1. Mass messaging and the mobile app are changing to Parent Square as well. Back-end technology is now complete. Training has started and will continue through the summer. The new school year will start with Parent Square. So we're excited to let you know about the program Parent Square that's coming. Kudos to the entire team and to our LIDS team of working now and getting it done for the summer so the fall starts nice and fresh and our public is fully aware of everything that's happening. So want to let you know about that. Want to compliment and salute the amazing art display last week at the high school art show. Just amazing artists that we have in this district. Great celebrations and many awards were handed out that evening. But if you've missed it, there are digital videos that you can see regarding our art show. They're by category and they are online. We'd like you to get a chance to see it because there's a great deal of talent that our students do every day. Well, we're in May. I know it's going quite fast the school year. As I look in the audience and see our student leaders that will be presenting tonight and our student leaders that will be getting to commencement in 4 weeks. I don't know if you know, we celebrate School Principals Day for our amazing leaders that we have in our buildings. We had Physical Education Sports Week, and very important for our youngsters to engage in those activities. School Lunch Hero Day, and if you walked around our cafeterias, how hard they're working every day to make sure that every child is fed with a solid meal. We had Teacher Appreciation Week for the amazing teachers that we work with every day. School Nurse Day took place in May. School Communicators Day took place. You might have saw on Instagram the communications team, Kathy Reeves and her team, and we thank you for your great work communicating and navigating even this today. And we especially will thank all our service people for Memorial Day and what everybody has done in our world for that coming up. But last week something took place. Our Play and Learn program was held at the Lively Environmental Center. And if you get a chance to witness it, it's an amazing thing that the Everett Public Schools has, the Play and Learn team. It is an incredible session with outdoor activities and inside circle time, focused on the fish and culminating in an opportunity for every child to release a baby salmon into the stream site. And you know what? It was really cool to see and hear how students release their baby salmon. And we got a lot great feedback on that. But please, if you get a chance to our community, get involved in Play and Learn and know about our Play and Learn community. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Understanding and managing our emotions and mental health is really important for living a balanced life. And I want to share with everybody as we grow together, balancing your life is so important. We've made a video series called Connecting with Counselors that will offer guidance and support for anyone who might need it. And we're very glad that we're able to do that. If you get a chance, please check that out on Parent University. That is why we have Parent University, to use it to our tool to help everybody in our community. And I'd like to invite you to the Community Resource Fair on Friday, May 29th, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Community Resource Center. If you weren't there last year, please check it out. We had a lot of people there, huge turnout for our community and for our families within our community. Such providers will be there: legal services, health and mental health services, education and training sources, and more to give back to our community. So again, I want to thank you for the opportunity. A lot going on in our district as we give you the basis of what we're doing, but also great celebrations as well. So thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We'll now move on to board and student representative comments. Mr. Kink, would you like to begin?
Yeah, it's a really good time of the year right now. Weather's nice and the school is wrapping up. Right now we're in the middle of our busy AP season. We have about 3 days left of AP testing. And this year we've had no interruptions, no reschedules, and everything's been pretty smooth, which is nice, unlike last year. Other than that, I'm really excited to hearing and presenting the ASP budget presentation, so I wish you all good luck. And I'd like to congratulate our district art and all the performances that we saw today. Those were really good.
Yeah, so graduation is coming up, and I know seniors are excited for that. AP testing is happening at Everett High too, and good luck to everyone that's taken it and is going to take it within the next few days. And recently, in the past 2 weeks, Will and I got to sit with Dr. Saltzman and have lunch at the Totem, where we were able to sit down and have more one-on-one discussion with him on concerns that we have at our schools, which was just an awesome opportunity, and thank you, Dr. Saltzman, for that. And then I was also given the opportunity today to sit in on a discussion panel where students were able to ask both Casey Franklin, the mayor of Everett, and John D. Rouse, the chief of police, or the chief of the police in Everett, and ask questions that mostly pertain to concerns that our students had around Everett, which was awesome to hear, and I wanted to share some of the questions that I got to hear. So students were asking about homelessness issues, improving public safety, what they're doing for drug rehabilitation, and all that kind of stuff. And it was just amazing to hear our students' voices and see their engagement in our community. And then lastly, the summer is coming around the corner, weather's getting hotter, so if people are planning on swimming, be safe. Lakes and rivers take longer to warm up than anything else.
I would like to congratulate our artists. I'm overcome with pride. I think it takes a lot of bravery to share your art like that. And to extend that a little bit, there is art everywhere, even in places we don't always look. And so even the ASB leaders who are going to present their budgets, I think there's a lot of creativity that goes into your presentations. And I would like to also recognize and say thank you for that. I think they're all very well done. And I would also like to thank Dr. Saltzman. I really liked your report. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so much happening in the district this time of year. Lots of multicultural events happening. Was able to attend a few of those. Just always a really great opportunity to see the diversity of our students and their backgrounds, their language, their food. And it's a great parent involvement event as well, which I always appreciate. And then our team, 4 of us were able to attend the WASDA, I can't believe that was since our last meeting, but the WASDA Regional Conference. And for the first time, it was on the islands. So we went to Friday Harbor to meet some of our colleagues there and spent the afternoon collaborating on common topics that school directors face, and also learning a little bit about what other districts do, much smaller districts. It was so insightful, and so it was just a great opportunity and a great afternoon of learning together. So I really appreciated that. And there's just so much coming up to look forward to, graduations, more celebrations, but I'm going to stop because I want to listen to the students.
Yeah, I'll make mine quick. I also attended the WASDA regional meeting up at Friday Harbor, and I was very, very interested in hearing about some of the unique challenges that some of these island districts face, and in particular, some of the innovative solutions that they're pursuing to meet those challenges, and just really, really fascinating. I also attended today. WASDA and the Office of Native Education and OSPI held a school director tribal leader convening up at Swinomish. That was very interesting. And then at that meeting, I was also informed that I had been appointed by the president of WASDA to WASDA's government-to-government task force. So I'm very pleased with that, and that's the extent of my report.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations. Our board comment section is really a time for us as board members also to get updated on this, and so that's fantastic. And thank you for your additional dedication and work that's going to go along with that. We appreciate you, period. Yeah, the WASDA regional meeting was fantastic. It was the different school districts that are up there. It was just always eye-opening, and the different projects, so very inspiring. We did get time with Chris Reichdahl for Q&A. Randy Spalding was there from the State Board of Education, so just a really great way to spend a day. So there's that, which was a terrific event. And then I also just wanted to report out that today I was able to tour the Family Resource Center at Hawthorne Elementary School with Shelby Kremenich from Susan Delbenny's office, our federal legislator. And I just want to say another big thank you to Pete Meisner, Dr. Meisner, Chris Fulford, Principal Ellsworth, and Lynn Lazon, who runs that. It's fantastic anytime we can highlight how we're spending those Title I funds, how we're helping families. It's just a reminder of a lot of things going on behind the scenes. So, great.
Thank you, and congratulations, Director Adkins, for that appointment. And I appreciate you letting us know about those meetings. I apologize, just work, but I'm glad you were able to go and that you serve us in that way. I'm just going to take a point that very exciting week, and I'm thanking Everett for this. My daughter is graduating on Sunday with a Bachelor of Science in Geology, and I really was thinking back to when she won the 5th grade science competition at Penny Creek, her coordinated science at Gateway, environmental science, AP Environmental Science at Jackson. I really do think sent her on her way. So just as we enter this last month of school, I just really wish the students and staff the best, because it really, really is exciting to be able to look forward to your child walking across the stage. So thank you very much. And with that, we'll move on to the, audience comments. Are there any audience comments tonight?
Not at this time, Madam
Okay,
Chair.
thank you. Then we will move on to legislative updates. And are there any legislative updates tonight?
None for tonight.
Thank you. We will now move on to the consent agenda. Dr. Saltzman, were there any questions to the consent agenda?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Board of Directors. In the case of this consent agenda, the Superintendent's Office did not receive any questions on the consent agenda.
Right. Is there any director that would like to move something from the consent agenda to new business? Hearing none, then we will accept the consent agenda by general consent. Thank you. Now we'll move on to strategic progress monitoring, which there is none. And now we'll move on to the, really our favorite thing of the entire school year, which is the ASB presentations. And I think someone is beginning this. Sorry, Karen, thank you. So can I be fully transparent with the students? I am unprepared tonight because usually I do write up exactly what I'm going to say in the order. And just like you've ever given that excuse to your teachers, I left it at home. So I'm flying by the seat tonight. So thank you.
Oh, well, you're welcome. I'm Karen Buckman. I am the director of the budget office. Andy couldn't be here tonight. She's attending, I think, a concert for her eldest son, so you can't miss those events. So I'll be presenting the kids for you tonight. So this afternoon, you will hear from students and staff from our 4 high schools as they present their 2024-25 ASB budgets and student events and activities from this year. Each team of students will be introduced by their advisor. So I will be managing, I'll pull up their presentations for them so they don't have to worry about that. So you'll need to bear with me. You might see Jarrett running up if I'm having some troubles with that. So oh, look. There we are. See?
You've got lots of people.
I know. Look at everybody so
Yep.
kind to me. Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, I knew I'd do that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and starting us off tonight is Sequoia High School, and we have Jack Roy to introduce the students.
Dr. Salzman, Board of Directors, student representatives, community. I get the honor of introducing the ASB officers from Sequoia High School. I'm doing this because I started this process as their advisor, and there have been a few changes since then, but I wanted to be here to support them, so I will let them introduce themselves.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to be presenting our budget for this year. I'm Sam, I'm our treasurer of this school.
I'm Abby, I'm ASB president. And I'm Abby, and I'm vice president.
Today I'll be presenting our budget, revenues, expenditures. Abby will be presenting the budget development, and Addie will be Summarizing our snapshot. At the beginning of the year, we predict that we will have about the same money in our accounts, and you see that a lot of the revenues are coming from our general student body as they participate as they'd like to. Some of our revenues also come to graduating classes and clubs in the form of buying supplies to support our students, whether it be ceramics or anything else that they request. When it comes to expenditures, you're seeing a lot of the money in the same places as we'd like to give back to our students. Most of it goes back to our general student body and the things they participate in. Everything goes back to our graduating classes to support them, as well as clubs. And there's nothing in non-ASB funds, as we haven't had the need to, and predict that we will likely not next year as well. You see here that we are mostly coming from our general student funds, as that's covering events that our students host, which is all, pardon me, it's covers, whoa, sorry. Where our students participate is where most of our revenues go to. We're not needing as much for clubs, but you're seeing next year we hope to concisely expand that, so those will go up next year. Otherwise, most of the things are staying the same, and our general expenditures cover a lot of vending machines and other things that our students are participating with. For our general student body, we cover things like things that we plan. So that'll be our ASB, leadership classes, students' things that are general. Graduating classes are about the same, and clubs are for across the board. And I'm going to hand it over to Abby to talk about how we develop that budget.
Okay, ignore that photo, it's very bad. So our budget development, our ASB process, we like to make sure that students are leading our budget and it is focused on student needs. We develop this budget with ASB officer meetings, Senate meetings with club representatives, club meetings, Senate verification, budget development, and budget review. One thing I highlighted to make sure to clarify is, so our Senate meetings are usually we have representatives from each of our advisories so that we get varied and what is the word? Basically like a varied representation of our school throughout the grades. So if you look at this is our revenue distribution. Our ASB and ID cards are zero across the board because that's something we don't charge for. We also don't have athletics. We do get some revenue from beverage machines, and you'll see down underneath we have the Spring Bazaar. The Spring Bazaar is an event that has been going on for the last 2 years. This year was the second year. At the time, this year and last year, we did not have our own account for it, but next year we plan on opening that so that we are able to properly take track and monitor our funds and revenue distribution. That's why if you look at the 2023 to 24 budget, there's this was taken before, we just had it a little bit ago. That's why there's a bit of a money gap, so. And then our budget, I keep on reading that part, I apologize. The revenue distribution, for that we have ASB officers who review past requests. And again, then our Senate of Representatives approves disbursements to clubs and also yearbook. We take a pretty big emphasis on funding our yearbook so that it is of no cost to students, because we would believe that having students the ability to get something that represents their time at our school and to take pride in despite their economic circumstance is very important. And we also take additional requests to be approved by the Senate. I will be handing this over to Addie.
All right, so we're going to move on to some points of pride at Sequoia. Number one, I just want to say that Sequoia's main goal is to help students mentally with their safety and other means. I myself struggled with anxiety when I was maybe starting 6th grade. So coming to Sequoia, it was a big help to get to where I am now. One thing that Sequoia, like Abby just mentioned, is they recognize low-income families especially. I don't think my family would have been able to afford to buy a yearbook a few years ago. So being able to be at a school that does not charge their students for t-shirts or yearbooks or ASB cards allow more students to be involved with the school and take pride in their school and feel welcomed. Our main fundraising events would include our vending machines and our new Spring Bazaar. The Spring Bazaar is a fundraiser to help our clubs and yearbook be funded. It is created by our clubs, the students within them, our leadership class, and ASB. And the proceeds are to go back to the clubs and create a free yearbook. Another activity that we hold every year would be our Thanksgiving luncheon. It is a free meal for all students. Every year that I have been at Sequoia and I go to this luncheon, I am very surprised by the amount of people in that lunchroom. It is packed in there. And I think that really says something about how important that meal is to the families at Sequoia. Other ways that we provide for our students would be our food pantry and hygiene closet. Once again, these are produced by our leadership class with food drives, competitions, just a way to get free food for our students always available to them. Other things that we have done throughout the years would be our pumpkin decorations. That was back in October. Each student got a pumpkin to be able to decorate and display. We have our spirit weeks, all created by our students and thought of by them. And just this year, we created the Family Feud event, which, if you know the show, it's very fun. I would say this was also very surprising to see the amount of students who didn't necessarily know each other interact with each other. And similar to the Spring Bazaar, where a lot of people in clubs and outside of clubs were helping build the bazaar. So for the future, we want to continue to make fundraisers, continue to grow the bazaar as Sequoia grows and changes. We want to continue to make more activities that are free to students to be participated in, and just overall help students with their needs. And we are ready for questions.
Thank you, thank you, students. Any questions? Yes.
I was wondering, can you describe the Spring Bazaar a little bit, what it is? And
Do you want me to? Okay. So my first year really fully at Sequoia was the first year that we did it last year. And basically it is multiple of the clubs all come together. They figure out something they want to contribute and produce or facilitate at the event. And it's an after-school event where people can come in and buy ceramics from Art Club or buy plants for Sustainability Club. I know GSA both years has done concessions, and for yearbook has done various crafts and activities that they can walk people through. It's honestly been very fun being a part of both the processes of creating and also enjoying the project. I feel like me and a lot of other fellow students have grown in our ability to lead and facilitate activities and events.
thank you so much. That's a great description. And I think you should make sure that the school board gets an invitation to that bazaar so we can come see it at some point too. We would love to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you for a great presentation.
Any other questions or comments?
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
Thank you, that was very well done. I think that you really articulated your operational plans or goals and what you're gonna do. And I would also say, it seems like you've conquered anxiety because that was smooth.
Oh, you see,
Very
I'm
nice
shaking
work.
over here. Thank you.
So quick, thanks so much. That was fantastic. I feel like there's a few familiar faces from last year. And for the Spring Bazaar, I can't wait to go to that again. I think it was involving popcorn and different flavors of popcorn. One question I asked some of the Cascade students as well is I'm always curious when students step up to leadership, because what you're doing in our schools is very important. What was the reason? Would any of you like to address that? Because this is important to our schools and we appreciate it.
Honestly, I came into Sequoia for some of the same reasons, and it's really unique, the kind of student participation that we have at that school. If you're going to Sequoia, you're not enrolled in it to your parents. You're going there for a choice, and it's important that students step up and voice the things that are important to them. What are the things you really want to see at that school? It also gives you a really good opportunity to collaborate with staff and get through these challenges and really actually get to see things that you're passionate about come together and facilitate a better environment for other students there as well.
For me, I think I was experiencing a lot of the activities that leadership was planning and kind of then hearing like, oh, leadership planned this, or oh, leadership did this. And I felt very inspired and kind of like, oh, I would be interested in helping out with that. And I feel like a lot of people that are in leadership in my school, I would look up to. Like in other classes I had with them, I thought they were very admirable and like advocating for others. And I think our school is very specifically special in the fact that because it's so student ran, we're able to really get the representation that we need for our school. I think that the specific like just physical needs of students is something that is often overlooked because you think of they're going to school. But I think Sequoia does a really good job at trying to give students the things they really need in their life so that they feel like they're able to come to school. I know I've taken from the food pantry and the hygiene closet many times, even if it's for something I just forgot at home, but it's so much more welcoming and makes you feel really at home.
You. Great.
I'd just like to say thank you for having us.
Thank you.
We haven't done this in the past, but we're going to take group pictures with you guys. So if we could have you three go up in front of the board, and Jack, if you could come up too. This way we get all their pictures.
Center, front and center.
Great job.
One, two, three. Excellent, thank you. Who's next?
This is why it's our favorite night.
Who's next?
So what an articulate answer.
Do you want me to pull it up? Since I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Sequoia. That was wonderful. So next up, we have Everett High School, and tonight we have, sorry, now I gotta check the names, Meg Adams and Elizabeth Scott, and they will introduce their student officers.
Hello, Dr. Saltzman, President Mitchell, board members, and student directors. My name is Megan Adams. I am one of the ASB advisors at Everett High. I'm joined by Kevin Allen, hanging out there in the back, overseeing, as he does very well at our school, and my fellow co-advisor, Elizabeth Scott, who is going to get to introduce you to some of the best students we know.
Hi, I'm Lizzie Scott. I'm one of the other half of the ASB advisors at Everett High. And the backbone and heart of our school is really these kids, and so I'm excited for you to meet them. So we have Avery and Deborah and Shannon and Anthony, and I will let you tell them They'll tell you their titles, but they are the heart and the backbone of our school, and the reason why it's so fun to work at Everett High.
Excuse me.
Thank you so much for having us today. We're so excited to be here. I'm Avery Thompson, the ASB president for the 23-24 school year, and I'm joined by Shannon Chang, the ASB treasurer for this school year. I'm also joined by Deborah Vasula Kemba, the incoming ASB president, and also Anthony Reyes, the incoming ASB treasurer. Today, we are going to be presenting the Everett High School ASB budget for the 24-25 school year and highlighting the decision-making process we have used for budgeting, as well as the club events and activities, achievements, and goals for our future Seagull community.
As an overview, we're going to discuss our planned ASB budget for the 2024-2025 school year, which includes revenues, expenditures, breakdowns, and fund balance comparison. We also plan to talk about our budget development, revenue distribution, and our favorite part, our ASB snapshot, where we will share events and activities that have bettered our students' high school experiences, and of course, at the end, we will have time to answer any questions you might have.
So here's our ASB budget. We're going to go over revenues, expenditures, and their breakdowns, and then a fund balance comparison across 3 years at Everett High. So the beginning fund balance is a leftover amount from the previous year. And this year we started with $215,067. And next year we will start with $155,292. And that amount plus the total revenues equals the total available resources. And for this year, our school made a total revenue of $614,485 for a total resource pool of $829,552. And we are predicting to make $985,242 in total next year.
Also, as you can see, for the next year, we plan to we plan for our clubs to play a significantly larger role in generating revenue.
This year, our total expenditures was $592,111, which is slightly less than our revenues because we don't want our accounts to go negative. And the total available resources minus the total expenditures equals the ending balance for the year, which for 23-24 was $237,441. And that number becomes the beginning fund balance for the 24-25 school year. And in 24-25, we have budgeted to spend $814,292 and end with a total amount of $326,242 to account for fall expenses.
And our projected revenues, or expenditures, for the 24-25 school year include things like clubs traveling a lot more for events like high-level competitions, such as state or national competitions, and the registration costs to bring entire teams, unlike this year where we were only able to bring part of our teams. And this pie chart represents the distribution visually, and it also summarizes our projected revenues, which are based on forms that were submitted to us. And these forms gave us an idea of how much each community needed to fundraise for the next year.
Our largest expenditure is clubs at 52%, and this is because our school has more participation in clubs than in athletics. And this is also because national field trips, which many of our clubs participate in, are very expensive because you're sending entire teams across the country. And our second largest is athletics at 29%, and this mostly covers costs to pay referees as well as sending teams to state.
As you can see here, the 22-23 amounts are the actual end of year amounts that can be found on the financial summary on our school's website. To the right of those, you can see the 23-24 estimated ending balances, which are the budgeting ending amounts. And finally, we have the 24-25 budgeted ending amounts. And because of how much more money we expect clubs to fundraise, we have a much higher ending balance for clubs in athletics than ever before. This expected increase in fundraising also helps offset the effects of HB 1660 and other similar losses of revenue that will continue to hit us hard next year.
And we've talked about what the numbers mean, and now we will discuss how the decisions for those numbers were made. Before we begin discussion of our allocation process, a lot goes into the budgeting process. Our advisors and treasurer meet with other clubs to help them build their own budget for art review. We provide support after school for any clubs, sports, or groups that need help with this process. Once we have received budgets from every group on campus, our ASB team meets in a conference room for 2 separate days to get a refresher lesson on ASB law, organize these budgets, and eventually move on to our allocation process. During this process, we asked a lot of questions to guide our decision making, such as, how many students does each group serve? What is their ability to fundraise? How do they contribute to our school culture? Are they active, and do they need a helping hand to get off the ground? Do they have a strong outside of ASB account, like a parent booster group? And does this group provide a space and voice to students that our system doesn't adequately serve otherwise? After answering each of these questions, it helps us move forward towards an equitable decision to each group's unique situation while budgeting.
This year we budgeted to make $46,000 on ASB cards and so far have been successful in making an actual of $30,345 on ASB cards. And this is because the benefits of ASB cards are more commonly known throughout our student body and more widely enforced by clubs and sports. A key benefit is that they provide free entry to many Everett sporting events within our league.
You may also notice that dances and other category jumps from 10,000 to 47,000. And this is because this category has grown to not only include dances, but also major fundraising events, such as our Tailgate, Winter Wonderland, Field Day, and various club events and dances that take place during the year.
After answering each of the previous questions, we then went over club allocation requests. To decide how much money we allocate for special requests, we looked at a few guidelines. First, we made sure that the requests followed the ASB law of CARS, cultural, athletic, recreational, and social. We also looked if athletic teams were on a uniform year. Finally, some allocation requests are awarded based on special circumstances. For example, we award our money to our affinity groups on campus, such as Pacific Islander Club, Latinos Unidos, and BSU to attend cultural field trips. We believe that it's important to provide our students opportunities to further their cultural understanding and make clear that all cultural groups are valued at Everett High School.
And now it's time for our favorite part, and we hope yours as well, the ASB Snapshot. From our Makerspace Club, who provides space for kids to be creative, to our girls bowling team who got 10th in state, the incredible things our students do inspire us to continue to uplift student voices, to create a holistic high school experience where all feel safe and represented.
Before we highlight our student fundraising events, we want to acknowledge the incredible community support that our school receives. Our generous Blue and Gold Club and our EHS PTA auction in the springtime calls upon countless community members that contribute to our sports and clubs. It is necessary to thank these caring supporters and spirited alumni who ensure inclusive events are created for all EHS students. We give clubs and sports 3 main opportunities to fundraise throughout the year. First is Homecoming Tailgate, our first and biggest fundraising event, incorporating groups from robotics to Educators Rising. And this year, we changed from cash to tickets, which helped us generate more revenue. Second is Winter Wonderland, which was simply a light show in the past. And this year, we amped up the operation, giving clubs the platform to have booths and fundraise just like Tailgate. PI clubs sold Masubi, and other clubs had games, concessions, and more. Our third fundraising event is pictured from last year, our field day in early June. The entire A building lawn is filled with clubs who either host games or sell food. And this was major for our geoecology club, who sold more than $700 on plants last year. Another fundraising event outside of the main 3 are EHS E-flags, which contributes directly to our general ASB fund to support the whole school and be allocated to a variety of clubs and sports as needed.
We also love giving opportunities to our clubs to show the rest of the school what they're about, so that we can get more participation throughout our entire school. And we do this in a variety of ways, like our annual club fair, which showcases each of our clubs. We are also ecstatic to be able to rally together and support our clubs and sports for events like our drama program's musical and sending off our clubs and sports to state.
We also believe in giving more than we take. We give to our community in forms of food safety, uplifting the youth, and providing unifying experiences to many beyond our high school. This includes our EHS food drive, as pictured on the right and left. We got a lot of food. Having our homecoming royalty visit their past elementary schools, as well as future Seagulls, to teach them about Everett High values. And our state girls basketball athletes reading books about perseverance to elementary classrooms during Women's History Month.
At Everett, we value our community and create opportunities for students to learn the importance of giving back. Our Latinos Unidos Club annual Regalo Rush adopted 97 Everett families this year, supplying 319 children with gifts for the holidays. We have 2 blood drives, and we collected 45 units of blood at the first, and our second was just last week. We also try to be participatory members of the greater Everett community, and 2 of the ways we do that is by hosting our Trunk or Treat event and our Winter Wonderland event, which are both gatherings made for our community.
Our school takes immense pride in our homecoming season. We are so proud of our incoming ASB president, Deborah, who sang the national anthem at our homecoming game this year. For our homecoming dance, our leadership and ASB team work to honor people that don't love dancing, and so our aux gym is filled with games, activities, and seating areas. That makes it more than a dance. Homecoming season reaches out to and includes many different groups, such as our amazing cheer team during our homecoming pep assembly, our freshman class, and most importantly, all students, regardless of if they are part of any specific group, throughout the week's festivities.
On this slide, you can see a variety of our events that spotlight students who do so much for our community. Like our leadership at Inner High, learning what it means to be a leader, our amazing Seagulls supporting athletes from both of our basketball teams, along with the winners of Seagull Set-Off, which is our junior versus senior volleyball game. We also have the Seagull Sing-Off, which fosters community through songwriting, and the Latinos Unidos' Quinceañera fashion show, which highlights their culture through the design of their dresses.
This slide depicts a lot of the achievements that our clubs and sports made by going to state competitions or breaking school records. As you can see, we have so many students involved in a variety of clubs at Everett, even more than compete in sports. All clubs on this page went to state or national competitions, including TSA, NJ ROTC, HOSA, and DECA, aka our business baddies. Sorry. This isn't to say we're not also so proud. Well, that really got me. We're also so proud of our athletics. Our teams compete at extremely high levels and break records. Just one example is Isaiah White, pictured, who broke the record for most career points previously held by current EHS counselor, Justin Shalati. Also recently, not pictured because it happened recently, our track team also has broken 5 records this year, which we're really proud of. A senior, Shuku and Dari Jije, broke the record for all 3 jumping events, high jump, long jump, and triple jump. And our girls 4x2 and 4x4 broke their respective records.
This past year, we've been able to open up more of our events for club participation, such as Tailgate, Trunk or Treat, Winter Wonderland, and Field Day. We envision a campus where students feel like they belong not just to their group, but to the Everett High community as a whole. We're providing a space that celebrates every club's unique identity, and we want to increase visibility of every club and continue to bridge the gap between leadership and our clubs and sports on campus. The end goal is that by bridging this gap, students can understand that they are not just part of their group, but they are part of Everett High. Our suggestions for bridging this gap include
involving clubs in the planning and execution of school-wide assemblies. Leaders empower other leaders, and people support what they create. And therefore, we want to include diverse voices from throughout our entire community. We also want to increase club recognition and accessibility by making clubs even more visible on our social media and entire campus. Leading this charge would be our newly created ASB position called Activities Commissioner. The Activities Commissioner will lead us in this effort of club visibility and celebration. Part of our new vision for the 24-25 school year is the new leadership class position of Spirit Commissioner. This new position is an attempt to coordinate and give space to all of our spectacular groups on campus that could benefit by working with and celebrating each other. Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much, and I do appreciate the Commissioner of Spirit, or Spirit Commissioner. That's what a great title. Is that a student?
Yeah, it will be a student in our advanced leadership class.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments? Go ahead.
Always. Very nice job. Thank you for presenting and sharing your thoughts and plans. I only have one comment, and that is you've got a lot of money in the bank, and you're planning to have a lot of money in the bank, and having money in the bank doesn't necessarily help as much as, you know, deploying the resources, especially with athletics. You know, I see that you're going to collect a lot of revenue over expenses, and I would just remind you that a budget isn't hard and fast, and if you find a way to deploy resources in a way that's equitable and engaging with the students, don't be shy. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
Just really well done. I appreciate the description of how you came up with your expectations for next year and the feedback. It sounds like you really are involving the clubs to set their own goals and strategies, and then also, though, examining them to make sure they're realistic. So I just thought it was really well done.
And then something we've been asking for a number of years, even before you all got here, is not having super high ending fund balances. So I do appreciate the fact that you're managing that, because to Director Revolinsky's, you know, it is if you hold on to it, then maybe you're not serving the students. And that's something we've really wanted you guys to do is raise it and spend it and raise it and spend it. And so really great job demonstrating that. So thank you so much. We're on to another school, so thank you. Oh, picture. Great job, great job.
I want the first slide to be up there when I take their picture. There we go. Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
all kids. I'll get you this way.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Fifth graders are a lot easier to stand above.
Who's next, Karen? I closed the wrong window. Okay. Where's Cascade?
Okay, well, thank you, Everett High School, and up next is Cascade High School, and, yeah, Cascade High School, and with them, Kelly Rogers is here to introduce her students.
Hello, Kelly Rogers, ASB advisor at Cascade, and I've had the privilege of having this role at our school for almost 10 years, and I feel like every year our student leaders get better and better, and so I'm really excited to introduce you to our officer group. We have Zachary Lopez, our current ASB president, Gabriel Doolin, our incoming president, Jamarian Mori, our current treasurer, and Joshua Ariola Cortez, our incoming treasurer, and our current vice president.
All right, good afternoon. So today we'll be going over our 24-25 revenues and expenditures and their breakdowns, then going over the fund balance comparison, then our ASB budget development process, then our ASB snapshot, which includes major fundraising events, club events, community service projects, points of pride, and suggestions for the future. And here's Jamarian with our 24-25 budget.
Now on to our 2024 to 25 ASB budget.
Our beginning fund balance comes out to $209,695. Our total revenues comes out to $813,000, leaving our total available resources to $1,022,695. You'll notice an increase in revenue in the general student body account, and this is due to our proposed band and choir trip. Now on to our 2024 to 25 budget expenditures. Our total available resources come out to $1,022,695. Our total expenditures come out to $888,475, leaving a total end fund balance to $134,220. Once again, you'll see an increase in expenditures due to our band and choir trip. We ensure that all of our clubs and sports build enough of a capacity to spend as much as they fundraise. Now onto our revenue breakdown, of revenue, sorry. Bulk of our revenue is raised in our general student body account, and this comes from our yearbook sales and our ASB card sales. Because of the bulk of our revenue, sorry. Now on to our 2024 to 25 breakdown of expenditures. Because of the bulk of our revenue comes from the general student body account, we like to give that back to the student bodies, such as like our assemblies, our hot cocoa days, and even our dances. There's been a slight increase in athletic expenses because we allocate our funds to athletics for training rooms, their uniforms, their trophies, and even their required equipment. We don't reflect the same increase in clubs. Instead of moving funds ahead of time, we hold our club contributions in our general account until clubs make requests. Now on to Josh to talk about our fund balance comparison.
Thank you, Jamarian. So our fund balance comparison compares our ending fund balances from all accounts in our actual, projected, and budgeted year. We see that next year, our projected ending balance from all ASB accounts is $134,220. Although this may look like a decrease in ending balances, this is only because we are trying to spend the money that we bring in, ensuring that all students get the benefits that they deserve. And now our budget development. Our budget development was a multi-step process including multiple parts of our student body. First, clubs and sports submitted their budget request forms into our ASB advisor. Then, our ASB presidents and treasurers reviewed the budgets and created our budget for next year. Then, the ASB presidents and treasurers presented the budget to our ASB executive team, our ASB leadership class, administration, and out to you. Here are our main generators of revenue in our ASB. We have $35,500 coming in from ASB cards. We have an estimated amount of $5,000 for vending machines and $9,000 from dances, with an estimated revenue of $49,500 from all ASB accounts. Next year, we are thankful that the district applied for a grant that allows our ASB account to get $9,000. This helps offset the House Bill 1660, the effects that House Bill 1660 has on our ASB budgeting, and this ensures that we can support the students with what Jamarian said, our hot cocoa days and assemblies. There are many parts that our budget goes to, but here are some key points. $6,000 will go to club contingencies, which helps with club contributions, which include state and club activities. $10,000 go to athletic major purchases. This is based off of coach requests, competition requirements for equipment, gear and equipment replacements. And then a chunk of our money goes to our ASB general account. This helps support dances like Tolo that don't necessarily generate as much money as it usually does, but we like to keep it because it is an inclusive, informal dance that brings community to our school, and it's just a lot of fun. And now our ASB snapshot.
I'm Gabriel Dillon, incoming president, and here with Zachary Lopez, our current ASB president, to give an overview of what our ASB participated in for the 23-24 school year. Starting off with our major fundraising events, we have homecoming. We use cost-effective ticket prices and inclusive themes to improve attendance by removing the financial barrier for students. Our proceeds from the homecoming dance help fund our future school events like one of our dances, Tolo. Moving on to our next fundraiser, Penny Wars. For our Penny Wars, each grade received a bucket that students can put change in for points, and any actual physical dollar bills would negate points. Even though there's room for improvement with this fundraiser, it was still very successful in improving student engagement. For our ASB cards, our main source of revenue and funding student programs and activities, and some ASB cards are distributed for free for students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. Now with resales. Resales have been one of our most successful fundraisers this year, and it's a great opportunity for parents and students to be involved in selling this item. And it's a very convenient fundraiser because it's like already Christmas time and people are selling wreaths, so it's very profitable. Moving to our club events and activities, we have our blood drive. Our school blood drive is run by one of our clubs, HOSA and Douglas Shook. It's a place where it unites students and staff to support local blood banks. This creates community involvement and civic responsibility. Giving blood is no small feat for our student body, so it emphasizes the importance of blood donation. And for our German exchange, it's where students from Germany spend 2 weeks with our students at CHS, and then CHS students reciprocate later in the year. Run by our passionate teacher, Frau Lockwood, it creates a first-hand German experience for students who participate. Now for our food drive. Food drive is the most important tradition and obviously what our school is most known for. And it's a great opportunity for our school to give back and to keep our entire student body involved. This year, we collected 40,000 cans, $15,000, and 1,700 gifts. Now with the transition fair. Personally, as a student, I love participating in the transition fair. The transition fair was an event where different agencies and a variety of free workshops were held to provide information on services, community connection, and access to different tools to help people with employment and career goals. This event was run by Snohomish County, but ASB was there to support and direct people through the school and monitor the workshops being held. Now to Zach with our points of pride.
Thank you, Gabriel. Next, I'll be talking about our ASB Snapshot Points of Pride. We made it a huge focus at our school to incorporate many different points of pride around campus. One of those being, sorry, this is a little different. One of those being Crimson and Gray Fridays. Crimson and Gray Fridays is something we do every Friday, or we try to do every Friday, and sometimes it might just be our ASB doing it, but it was a great message we were sending to the student body. We also, back in the fall, we had Crazy Crimson and Gray Friday where kids would wear beads, they'd paint their faces, we'd come early in the morning, give them hot cocoa, we'd play music, wake everyone up a little, and it was really fun. Next, we have Bruin Halftime. Bruin Halftime was a way to increase spirit and student involvement on those days we had full Fridays. In the gym, we always had a student versus staff game going on, and kids could either participate in that or watch it from the stands, and it was a great way to build community between the students and the teachers. And if you didn't want to participate in that, we had different teachers hosting various activities in their classroom. Our food prep teacher taught kids how to make noodles, and one of our science teachers taught kids how to make macro-made plant holders. So it was really great. Next, we have various different pride projects that our ASB leadership class did. One of those being this photo wall. As you see, students would just submit a picture and it would go up on the photo wall. So every time you walk by, you can either see yourself, your friends, your teachers. And again, it was a great way to build that community. Lastly, we have Matchematics, which was a friendly way to connect students during Valentine's Day. All they had to do was fill out a quick survey and they get results back of another student who had common interests of theirs. It was a really great way to make friends. Teachers also did the same thing so they could see what teacher was most like them. Next, I'll be talking about some amazing clubs, an increase in sports, and some of our amazing state competitors. Our yearbook team was one of 5 schools out of 175 plus schools to get recognized by the yearbook publishers Walsworth. They won the most outstanding yearbook and will be featured in a book alongside other schools around the nation. We have some new clubs this year, including badminton and National Chinese Honor Society. which have seen a ton of participation already, hopefully showing kids how easy it is to start a club and how easy it is to join a club. Next, we have some increases in sports and club participation, some of those including our girls bowling team, who's seen a great increase, and our boys golf team, who has seen a lot more participation this last spring. Next, I'd like to shout out some of our amazing state competitors, some of those including HOSA, DECA, girls bowling, who saw that increase this year, also had 2 girls go to state, which was amazing to see. Our boys swim team, our cheer went to nationals per usual, our math team, our choir, and band. And math team got first in state, actually, which is really cool. And a quick shout out to Jacob Hopkins, who's not up here, but is a 2-time state champion cross-country runner. And he's only a sophomore, so he's going for that 4-peat 4 years in a row. He'll get it. Lastly, our ASB snapshot suggestions for the future. At the beginning of the year, we wanted to try new things, branch out a little bit, and we did that with our Bruin halftime. We substituted Bruin halftime for some assemblies, and it was a risk we were willing to take, and I think it turned out very well for us. Our campus cleanup, I think our campus is pretty clean, but we can always make sure to keep picking up trash after lunches and continue to make sure it's clean. Some new projects, our gym is going under construction right now. We're getting new bleachers and new floors. And also, our school has lots of bare walls, and we just want to spice it up a little. One being this metal garage in the foyer of our cafeteria. We're going to put a mural up on it. And in our cafeteria entrance, like the big entrance, we're going to put a new marquee board up there. It's going to look really great, even though all the seniors will not see it. So me personally, I'm really sad I won't be there, but I'll come back. We'll continue promoting our Bruin Pride and continue trying to get school-wide participation in various events. And I said the word community a lot because we're trying to build a community at school and show kids what it means when we say Bruin Pride never dies. So now we'd like to invite some questions.
Great, thank you so much, and that Bruin Pride is obviously up there. You guys always show up with your maroon, so thank you. Any questions or comments?
First. Very nice job. My initial reaction to your budget was that it's pretty sporty, which is another way of saying you've got lofty goals. I believe in you. I think you can do it. I would commend you for recognizing the importance of engagement, and I would also implore you to also engage with the other organizations, parent organizations, especially when you've got such high goals. The band boosters, they will be important to at least chat with or keep some open lines of communications. Similarly with the BCP, good luck. Thank you. Very nice.
Any other questions or comments? No, great job.
Great presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much. So.
Nice job, guys, nice job.
Oh my gosh, tall kids.
Can you go to the other side?
No, don't
Thank
worry.
you.
No, don't worry. Okay, stand tall, stand tall. We're around your shoulders.
Yeah, I got you all. You ready?
Good
1, 2,
presentation.
3. Wait, look at me. There you go. Okay, thank you.
Great job, great job.
There must be only one left. All right.
Okay, thank you, Cascade. That was really great. And last but not least, we have Everett, or Jackson High School coming up, and we have Jason Gaddick here, their advisor, who will introduce the kids.
Good evening, everyone. I want to start by saying thank you for all of your support of our schools, but also for all of our students and programs and their hopes and dreams. It means a lot to us. my other piece of gratitude would be thank you for letting us borrow one of your board members for our presentation. We kind of need him, so thank you. All right, so I am here to introduce the 4 members of Jackson High School's ASB who will be presenting our budget for next year to you. We have with us Joey Kim, our current ASB president, Will Kink, next year's ASB president, who you might know, Eugene Kim, our current ASB treasurer, and Archit Goyle, next year's ASB treasurer. So without further ado.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having us today. In our presentation, we'll be going over our projected budget for the next school year, as well as the process that we use to develop it, and a little snapshot into some of our major fundraising, club activities, community projects, and things that we're working on for the future. And we'll also have time for questions at the end.
So starting with the 2024-25 ASB budget, we'll just be looking through the revenues, the expenditures, their breakdowns, and then the fund balance comparison. So in this slide, we see that the beginning fund balance is just over 200,000. Our total revenues projected is just under 1.3 million, and then our total available resources is just over 1.5 million. And so this increase we see in the last 2 years is because of our increased participation in our clubs, which we have a huge amount, over 70 this year. So.
And with the sumptuous amount of revenues that we gain, we also, of course, are going to have a lot of expenditures going out because it's been our goal, our school goal, for like as long as I can remember, before I was born. Yeah, but anyways, yeah, we want to make sure that we're actually giving back to our students as well, the money that we gain. And we do actually seem to have an increasing rate of revenues coming in. So with that, we will also strive to maintain an increasing rate of expenditures going out.
So looking through a breakdown of our revenues in this pie chart, we see that a large majority are from our clubs, and then our next biggest majority is from athletics. As mentioned previously, is because we have a high club participation rate, and it's kind of expected for everyone to join them. So, and then just basically identical to our breakdown of our revenues, we have our breakdown of our expenditures, which is basically the same, with our clubs being a big majority and our athletics being next up.
And so next we'll be talking about our ending fund balance comparison. So key things to take away here are, in our 2023 to 2024 estimated actual balance, we could see a huge jump in the ending fund balance from 2023's to 2020 to this year's. And that can be because of 3 reasons. For the general student body, athletics, and clubs, you can see that they're significantly less than last year's. And one of the reasons, for example, for clubs, our robotics team, which is very competitive, is going to have lots of competitions, and I won't try to boast, but our robotics team is pretty good. They made it to nationals a lot, so they need a lot of money for the lot of students that they have in their club. And this year, they usually get a lot of money from the CTE, but unfortunately, they weren't granted that same amount, so they had a lot less money to work with. And that could also contribute to our general student body, which you can see is significantly less because they, not just them, but other clubs as well, had us come in to do lots of club proposal and things like that. And then for athletics, we had our cheer team, new uniforms, and then there's the new football uniforms as well, which cost a lot. And then yeah. And next we'll be talking about our budget development and how we made this presentation basically. So each club at around the beginning of March or late February, we'll send them a budget packet online, or just a packet so that they fill out their plan for maybe next year's funding balances and stuff like that, and how they expect to spend their balances for next year's. And then they also include their fundraising strategies, as well as as well as current year fundraisers and how they managed to make their money up until now. And then once we get that information, this ASB board, alongside other Mr. Gaddick and Ms. Stoddard, we analyze the budget packets and then see if they're valid and things like that. And then once we do accept of these,
we notify the ASB secretary, and then if we have any questions for these budget packets, then of course we will contact the clubs and activities.
So looking through a breakdown of our revenue distribution again. So our biggest biggest moneymaker this year has been the ASB cards and the yearbook. And this increase in our ASB cards has especially been because we've been doing our due diligence in increasing our club members having their own ASB cards, as we see that's important for every individual in our school to have. And then our yearbook, we've been just selling roughly the same amount as the past few years.
And then finally, for the budget development, we'll be talking about how our revenue will be distributed. So early on, clubs will, well, not early on, but just throughout the year, if they need, clubs will send a request online, for money that they might need, or if they're short, they'll do a fund presentation. And then once we are notified of that, ASB make sure to schedule it, and then they'll come early morning before school starts during ASB hours and present a proposal for their funding. And then once they finish their proposal, of course, we're gonna ask questions if we need to, and then discuss once the club goes out. We're gonna discuss as an ASB whole about if we want this proposal to be accepted or not, and see if they really need it, if they really don't, and how they can also improve funding for the future. And then once that decision is made, we report it to the ASB treasurer and the ASB secretary and send the emails to the clubs that it got accepted.
Hey guys, so now I'm going to be taking you through the ASB snapshot, and this kind of shows how the money impacts our school, and as well gives you an idea of what we all do on ASB. So one of the big things the ASB classes are responsible for are big fundraising events. These are both helpful for making money for prom and also building a big school culture. The biggest one of the year is at the start. It's called Homecoming. We do a great job. We make multiple committees in ASB, planning for decorations, how the dance is going to go, and doing our best to include as many students as possible in that for a big turnout. And we had a very large turnout this year. We got a DJ, and there's lots of dancing. It was really fun. Later in the spring, we have our Jackson Got Volleyball tournament. And this is super cool. We get a bunch of student teams, and we have a huge bracket where people play volleyball after school. We also get lots of people to come watch. And there's also a staff team, which Mr. Gaddick was on. Unfortunately, they didn't win. Students on top. But yeah, that's a really good time. We also have painting nights, and these are good because they don't just involve the school. We also get community members involved with these from we advertise the elementary schools and the middle schools in the district to make sure lots of people come. We do a Bob Ross one where we play a Bob Ross video and people follow along. It's really cool. And we do a pumpkin painting night where the senior class buys a bunch of little pumpkins and they do a painting contest. So those are really cool. And then there's a whole lot more from all the classes. We got a babysitting night for people to leave their kids while they do shopping. We have a big talent show, which is about to happen in a week here. A father-daughter or superstar dance, and lots more just to build school culture.
And as was mentioned before, we have a lot of different clubs at Jackson. We have over 70. And so at the start of this year, we decided to introduce our club fair, which gave every club the opportunity to have a booth where they showcased exactly what they're all about and recruited new members. And this is especially helpful for our underclassmen who are still exploring extracurricular opportunities. And it allowed them to ask questions and see what they might be interested in joining throughout the school year. Our clubs are very involved in events such as our homecoming parade and especially our Oktoberfest, which is our annual event that we hold on campus at Jackson for children in the area during Halloween. And also, of course, our competitive clubs such as DECA, HOSA, FBLA, and TSA, they all competed at the state and national levels and brought home lots of notable awards. So kudos to them.
There's also lots of ways ASB gives back to the community. We're really proud of our Henry the Giving Snowman toy drive. For this one, we set up a giant inflatable snowman near the lunchroom and advertised to get students to come and bring in gifts. And these will be redistributed to elementary schools in district, so all kids have toys for the holidays, and we do our best to give back to the community, especially that one. And then, like the other schools, we also have a massive food drive. We partner with the feeder elementary middle schools to, again, create more district unity. We have them all donate food. we bring it in, collect in the school, and as you can see there, we have like mounds and mounds of food, and that's given to the food bank, and it's really nice, just more ways. We're doing community service projects and giving back to the community.
And in the past few years, returning back from COVID, we've seen a huge increase in school spirit. And this year, that was especially true with our PEP assemblies, because we've really been taking the time and effort to kind of plan in advance and try and engage our student body more throughout our assemblies. And we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that this year. And students have said that they feel seen and heard and part of the Jackson family this year during the assemblies. For Spirit Weeks, we've also been trying to make them more inclusive. So for each Spirit Day, we've been offering alternative options to participate that doesn't necessarily require extra materials or supplies. So for instance, our Spirit Days mirror things like Tropical Day or Wear Blue. So that gives every student the opportunity to participate, and that's definitely increased our school spirit throughout the year.
However, we're always looking to improve, and coming into this year, a big goal was to build more inclusivity in the school, which we've been mentioning today. One way we show this is through our multicultural night. We have all the multicultural clubs and all the different ethnic groups at the school come in. They bring food, they do dances, they display art, and have a great opportunity to show their culture to the school. And that's one of the most popular events of the year, actually, and we get lots of people to come in. And it's always great to see people share their culture. And then more things we're trying to work towards in the future are like involving the entire student body with our events. And we did a little test run this year with like a rock, paper, scissors tournament. This is really fun. So we had all the classrooms do a rock, paper, scissors tournament. And they'd send the winner out to the hallway, and the hallway would play each other, and it came down to like 8 people, and they got the chance to play at the spring assembly. And this is really cool because we reached out to the special ed department because some students there may be potentially left out of events, and we really wanted to do our best to include everyone. And we had a special ed student make it all the way to the semifinals in the rock, paper, scissors tournament, and everyone was cheering for them. And it was a really cool opportunity, and similar to what Zach said, we're always looking to build school inclusivity and build school culture, and that's just another way we do it. And now any questions?
Great job. Thank you so much. I'm just going to say, first off, you guys did say inclusivity a lot, which I appreciate. I heard it at the other schools too, and I appreciate the fact how you're looking at inclusivity, not just one-dimensional, but so multi-dimensional. So I just want to recognize all the schools for that. So any other questions or comments?
That was actually my comment.
Oh.
No. I just wanted to say to all the students, I just really appreciate how you are adjusting your activities and your points of pride to be more inclusive of your school culture, to get more students involved in activities and really create that sense of belonging. And I heard it in your presentation, I heard it in all the presentations. So, and I also just wanted to say I'm impressed because you have a lot of work to do going through 70 plus clubs and all the different sports and activities to actually review the requests and field those ongoing requests all year long. So kudos to you. And then lastly, I just wanted to ask Will, is it more fun on the school board or an ASB?
I'll answer that later.
Okay. Good choice.
Any other questions or comments? I'm going to say, Mr. Kim, I'm going to correct you. Jackson used to be a big offender of having huge ending fund balances. And through accounting and through your leadership, it is really nice to see you spending more money on your kids, because you used to hold on for what if. Well, the what ifs do come, and you've had the money. So great, great job.
Yeah,
So-
we'll make sure to continue doing that in the future too.
Yeah, thank you. All right, well, now we can do a picture, but thank you.
Job. Nice job.
One, two, three. All right. Don't move. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, I want to thank you, all the students, and congratulate you for being here. This really is why we do this. It is because of the students, and when we get to see juniors and seniors and maybe some sophomores come up here and give these presentations. Just really, really great work. We're going to take just a 6-minute break because we've been sitting here for a while. And 6 minutes because it's the 6:09. So we'll be back at whatever that 6 minutes is plus 9, 15.
Thank you. What is 6:09 and 15?
So we'll be back at 6.
Nice job, everybody. Nice job. Nice job.
So 4 minutes. I can't do math. 4 minutes. I can't do math.
I was looking at the clock going, what is this?
She would rather just respond to questions. When I looked back and they were like,
can do math. All right, well, welcome back. We will now move on to our next topic, which is two adoptions. So Dr. Bowden.
Yes, good evening, President Mitchell. Thank you so much. Directors, Dr. Salzman, and the members of the public, thank you for having us here to present to you our recommendation for the materials adoption for Washington State history. I'm here this evening with Director Callie Spear, and she will be sharing with you the work of our committee as going through the whole process that this team has gone through all the way through recommendation to the board. At the end of this presentation this evening, we will be asking the board to move this recommendation forward to a second reading. So with the curriculum adoption process, it's outlined in Board Policy 2311 and Procedure 2311P, and it clarifies the board's responsibility for the educational program in Everett Public Schools and its legal responsibility for the approval of instructional materials used in the district. But beyond policy, the curriculum adoption process is anchored in our strategic plan. It's in all of our strategic themes, and it allows us to increase equitable access to rigorous and standards-aligned content to support learning across the district. So when we ensure access to standards-aligned adopted curriculum and differentiated core instruction for each student, we're contributing specifically to 3 of our strategic initiatives. Establishing clear and vertically aligned instructional frameworks that allow us to ensure that we have clear district-wide expectations for instructional time in our course offerings. We take a lot of pride in ensuring that we have opportunities for students in the north end of our district, to the south end of our district, to the central area of our district to have similar experiences, and coordinated and aligned curriculum allows us to do that. And it helps us also to meet the needs of each diverse learner. The process supports all 6 of our priority student outcomes. I'd now like to invite Director of 612 Instruction, Mrs. Callie Spear, to the podium, and she will be leading the board in public through the adoption process through recommendation for you this evening.
Thank you so much for having me here tonight. Before I jump into the work that our committee did, I wanted to provide a high-level overview of 2311P, which is the procedure for the adoption process. We have 6 different appendices that we go through as a committee, and I just wanted you to be aware of all the different steps that we take as a committee to do the work that we're going to show you tonight. So we started for Washington State history with a needs assessment. The last curricular resource was adopted in 2015. You can see it up there, The Washington Journey by Gibbs Smith. However, the state standards were revised in 2019. So we thought that there was a need there to make sure we're addressing the most current standards. So throughout the process, we decided to invite teachers from our middle schools and high schools to join a committee. We invited building administrators, a special education facilitator, our diversity, equity, and inclusion facilitator, our multilingual learner facilitators, and then we also had representation from our learning and information technology team to help with that tech aspect of the adoption process. Once we established our committee, we did some deep dive into what it is that we wanted to actually adopt. What did we need to learn about? So we look at the state requirements because social studies has very specific requirements for adoptions. We looked at best practices. We double-checked those state standards, those 2019 state standards. We also looked at the course option and course alignment because this is a graduation requirement course. We offer it in 7th grade to our students, but we do have students who come into our system after 7th grade who need access to this course, and so we have to develop out what that's going to look like for our 8th graders through 12th grade. And then we also really wanted to look at those instructional components. So what are the best practices in teaching social studies? And so we did a deep dive into what that looks like. From here on the back end, so kind of concurrently with that work that we were doing with the committee, we worked to contact publishing companies to see what was offered for Washington State history. We also contacted regional school districts because we wanted to know what was being adopted and used locally around here as well. We reached out to OSPI. We asked for their recommendations for curricular resources. We asked them what was kind of coming up, was anything new happening? And then also, we had to look at whatever was provided to us, how was it accessed? Do you have an opportunity to access it online, and does it naturally connect with what we currently have, which is Canvas? It's our student platform for how to access curricular resources. So those are the 3 steps that we took when we were identifying our resources, and we found 3 that are being used widely across Western Washington, and so we took a look at all of those resources. From here, this is just an overview of the different appendices that you saw earlier, but I did want to highlight that with Appendix C, we did some work around the revision of the procedure for Appendix C, and that was embedding the Washington Model Resource, which directly relates to that House Bill 5462. So we actually used that tool that Washington State says that we should be using, and so we kind of piloted it this time, and it went really well. Our committee found that it was like great for reviewing those pieces for cultural bias and sex bias. And then we also did all those other reviews too, so we didn't leave those out. We jumped into field testing, and we had a pretty large field testing window, which was exciting because it provided an opportunity for teachers to kind of choose chunks of the 2 different resources that we ended up field testing. The reason that this window is important is because one of them is project-based, and so it takes a little bit longer to dive into some of those components. After field testing, we had teachers fill out feedback forms, but we also captured that student feedback, which the committee found very valuable, and you'll see that in the recommendation area. We also hosted a virtual open house for community and staff input. We worked directly with the communications team to develop the plan, so we pushed it onto the district webpage. We had a social media presence, and then we emailed directly out to staff to get their feedback. We did have several community members fill out the feedback forms, which was exciting. So we were able to use that feedback as well. Then, as part of the process, we go into that review and evaluation of data. Lots of different components here. So into a spreadsheet went all of the appendices with all of the check boxes, and so we had that for each appendix and each curricular resource. We took that field testing feedback, both the student and the teacher, and then we also took that community feedback and the staff feedback from the virtual open houses. So lots of processing, lots of synthesis, but it led to our recommendation. So it was an exciting day. And here is our recommendation. Our recommendation is Washington State History by EduCurious, which was copyrighted in 2023. So this is a brand new curriculum, which is really exciting for us. It integrates with Canvas. And so Canvas is the way that students and teachers access curricular resources. So the kind of exciting thing is that on the back end, we can load this into the blueprint or the back end piece, and it will push out directly to teachers. So the whole curriculum is just there in their Canvas page, which is really, really nice. It aligns to the C3 framework, which is what our state standards are built on. And then the most exciting part, and the part that our committee was most excited about, was that it's project-based and it's thematic. So it's kind of changing how we're teaching things, but there's a real great opportunity for integrated learning across different subject areas. So here are the why, a little bit more than I just shared. And I'm not going to read all of these because I think that they're going to be highlighted later when I show you some of the feedback from students and teachers. But I did want to call out this idea that this curriculum is adaptable. And that means as a committee, we are able to tailor it to our local history. So there are parts of the curriculum, and I'll show you a little example later, where we can actually change the pieces to align with our local tribal history, which is really exciting. This also, I think one of the biggest benefits of this curricular resource is that it provides this idea that you can apply historical thinking to current problems. So you start with history, and then you bring it all the way to present and see that through line, which again is thematic, but it's also very exciting. Here are just some examples from the students and the teachers. I did want to highlight a few things here. This is very current. So we have lots of great videos. We have lots of great technical tools to use from the student aspect. And then the teachers were really liking that it covers topics that they might not actually get to because it's actually current time. So that's kind of exciting. excuse me. And then the staff feedback, just again, want to highlight this idea of student engagement. This curricular resource is project-based, so it allows students an opportunity to really dig in, and that's exciting. And our teachers were excited about it. Our staff members that were not participants were excited about that as well. So as I've mentioned, it is thematic in nature. There are 6 different units, and they hit all of the different social studies standards. They have a big question. They have an adaptation guide, as I mentioned earlier. Oh, thank you. I forgot to bring my water bottle up. Okay. The other piece that I haven't mentioned is that this was created in collaboration with teachers from across Washington State. So that's kind of an interesting piece as well, and those teachers are still involved with the process of updating and keeping it current. So this is a deep dive into the first unit, which is called Connected, 2 different modules, and I just wanted to highlight the different pieces that you're going to see within the different modules. So you see cost benefit, economics, aviation and aerospace, so current and so relevant to our current area. Salmon data, we're going to do a closer look at that one in just a second. Here is the closer look at the salmon lesson. And the reason I wanted to pull this one specifically out is because this mentions the Swinomish tribe, but we are actually able to take this lesson and integrate the Tulalip tribal history into it. And so that's the work with the Tulalip tribe, which is really exciting because we're able to actually connect with our local tribes to make this more meaningful for our students. And then a closer look here. I think typically when you think of an end of unit assessment, you think of a test. This is the end project, and it's a community board project, and so students would be making these community boards in groups. They would hang them up in their building, and that's another opportunity to engage other students as well. And so there's a lot of really cool things we can do with these kind of end projects to keep that community aspect there. And then I also wanted to show you this because within the teacher resources, there are a lot of really great call out areas where you can modify how you teach lessons to meet the needs of students with different abilities. And so here, this is talking specifically if you have students with mobility challenges, how you could modify this so that we can think through all of those different pieces. And then finally, the John McCoy Lulias Since Time Immemorial Tribal Sovereignty Washington State Curriculum. This curriculum is really great because it allows us to partner with the Tulalip tribes to ensure that our teacher training and the integration is, thank you. I'm so sorry. Thank you. I was not planning on having a coughing attack up here. Excuse me. So the teacher training, the partnership that we can do with the Tulalip tribes will help to ensure that we are appropriately integrating the history of our local tribes into these materials. We plan to have a teacher training on reboot on our since time immemorial requirements in Tulalip tribal history. Excuse me. The adoption committee actually went up to Hebald and we did a day of learning up there. And so we're going to integrate that into the learning we do with all of our new teachers who will be teaching this course. And then as we get better at this, we're going to continue to adapt and grow in how we teach these resources. And then our implementation plan. So this is a really exciting component. So it's an open educational resource, which means that it doesn't cost us any money. Yay, I know it's like very, very cool. But we do want to make sure that we're doing the curriculum training correctly. And because this is project-based, we want to ensure that we have that training for teachers because this is a shift in how they're going to be teaching. So we're going to do an initial use training with EduCurious, the company, to really ensure our Unit 1 implementation is on point. From there, we're going to continue our professional learning. So we're looking at that job embedded, so teachers in other teachers' classrooms, learning from each other, teaching lessons together throughout the year. We're going to do some collaborative scoring for assessment pieces. And then also in the summer, we're looking at that Canvas integration, ensuring whatever we build in Canvas is pushed out to teachers is really, really great. And then we also are doing our John McCoy Lululius Since Time Immemorial training at Everett Learns. Now, you might have heard that Everett Learns is optional. This component is not optional. This would be required for Washington State teachers, but also open to anybody else who wants to take it. And all of this is covered in our basic ed budgeting. I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Bode.
So with this adoption of professional learning plan, we know we'll be able to better meet our students' needs, providing accurate historical events from our state's history, how it was represented on timelines from different cultural perspectives, which is critically important, including those of Indigenous people. So at this time, we would invite the board for any questions that you may have of either my team or myself that we can answer for you.
Are there any questions or comments? Dr. Mason?
Thanks for a great overview. I feel like I say this every time we have a curriculum adoption, but I just feel so confident in our policy and procedure of how we go about selecting curriculum that every time one is brought to the board, I'm like, yep, they've done their due diligence. And what's interesting is, history doesn't change, but it keeps growing. So you do have to update it occasionally. And I appreciate how this integrates, the more modern ways of teaching, project-based, more digital curriculum. I love that it's open sourced. So I just think it's again, a great and thorough job in selecting a curriculum. So thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question about the open educational resources, and is that going to be growing in future years? What do we know about that? Because that sounds exciting.
Yeah, so just in brief, the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction, they put together quite a few open educational resources. And if you may recall, our science education materials, Open Sci-Ed, is also an open educational resource. So the state is really doing a lot of work in helping to kind of vet some of those resources that are available, are high quality, and are very low budget for us. We pay for things like training and additional printing and things like that, but the more curricula that is available through open resource that's really high quality is just a benefit for public schools. I think the state has done an outstanding job about really trying to vet some of those pieces out, and it's really beneficial for us. So I think they'll continue to do that in the future as long as they're high quality. I think that's part of our process, is ensuring that free is good, free and high quality is best. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I'll say too that, especially because I wasn't able to go up to the islands, but there are districts that are under extreme financial restraints right now, and so having free that is vetted and is high quality definitely makes sure that every student has opportunity to the high level of education. So that's great that you pointed that out. So thank you. So with this, we'll move it to general consent to second reading. So thank you. Is that all I have to do?
Yes, it's moved to second.
Since I have no notes. So now for the next one. I was actually thanked by somebody for being honest that I didn't have my notes because they felt bad for something they didn't say. So I was like, see, we're all human.
Didn't even have to move. So good evening again, Board of Directors, Dr. Salzman, and thank you for inviting us again as we present the second of two recommendations for curriculum materials adoptions this evening. I'll be co-presenting this evening with two teacher facilitators from the Multilingual Learners team, Ms. Christy Gooding and Ms. Allie McElwee, as we share the process to review on our English language development, or ELD curriculum. At the end of this presentation, we're once again going to be asking the board to move this recommendation forward to second reading. So again, with our previous presentation, we outlined the process that exists for curriculum adoption in 2311P, which is our procedure. And again, when we have that standards-based, coordinated, and aligned curriculum, it really provides the equity of access for our students. We will be abbreviating some of that process since we just went through it in this first presentation in order to explore a little bit more of the curricula that we're presenting this evening. This process also helps us to accomplish our 6 priority student outcomes. However, this particular curriculum adoption specifically assists us in meeting the needs of our multilingual students, developing the written and verbal skills in English, which in turn can provide them access to learning in other content areas. So while we hit all 6 outcomes, I would underscore that this is intended to help close achievement gaps for students in this multilingual population. I would now like to invite Allie McElwee to the podium, and she will be leading the board and the public through this process. Oh, actually, I'll go through this piece of it though first. I want to share a little bit about the summary of the guidelines when we select core and curriculum instruction. We review that content and we look to make sure that it aligns with the curriculum that we have. We want to make sure that we're meeting the diverse needs of students and stimulate the student growth in conceptual, logical, and creative thinking. We should make sure that these materials always offer presenting different perspectives, and that really helps us for our students to develop their analytical thinking and informed decision-making skills. The materials we also adopt make sure that we have a deep understanding of social and economic diversity globally. We want to make sure that we're providing models that foster self-respect and appreciation of our cultural differences, and remembering that these guidelines really aim to create an inclusive and enriching learning experience for all of our students. So we did a needs assessment, and a need emerged a few years ago, but the materials did not actually go through a formal adoption process. Rather, the materials that we had purchased several years ago were purchased to supplement and support instruction alongside the content area and secondary areas. So we had a secondary ELA adoption in 2014. We had a special education adoption in 2017 with Language Live. However, with the increase in multilingual learners and the student population, and you'll see in a few slides here, the student population has nearly doubled in 15 years. There is a clear need for coordinated and aligned English language development curriculum for all multilingual students. Additionally, the state adopted what we call the WIDA standards framework. WIDA is not an acronym, it actually is the name of that framework. And in 2021, and it provides a foundation for this curriculum with instruction and assessment for multilingual learners in kindergarten through 12th grade. The ELD standards framework is centered on equity and fosters the assets, contributions, and potential in multilingual learners. Now, I would like to welcome Allie McElwee to the podium, and she will lead you through parts of this process with her colleague, Christy Gooding.
Thank you, Dr. Boughton. So with our committee, the adoption members provided representation from all of the middle and high schools. We wanted to make sure there was equal representation and a balance between middle and high school. We also looked at the multilingual learner student numbers in the schools to determine who would be on the recommendation committee. The committee began their work in November. During our first meeting, the committee grounded the work in some common learning regarding the changes that Dr. Boughton shared to the services and the supports for multilingual learners. The learning included reviewing the newly adopted WIDA standards framework and all of the components that go along with that. And you can see kind of a glimpse of this on the slide right here. And like Shelley also mentioned, WIDA is not an acronym. It actually started as an abbreviation for the beginning states, but WIDA has come to be the term for all of the states, the federal agencies, and international schools that are part of the consortium group.
So we did follow the same process and procedure as the previous adoption. Excuse me for a moment. I lost my place. So we reviewed 6 curricular resources from 3 different publishers. In March, the resources from 2 publishers were identified for field testing. All of the multilingual learner teachers were invited to participate in this field test, even if they weren't on the adoption committee. All of the teachers who participated were required to offer feedback and also have their students offer feedback. And so the feedback was gathered. We used Canvas for the guidelines for the teachers, and we used Canvas to provide access to the resources and the feedback tools that we used. Gathering community and staff feedback was also part of the process. We partnered with the communications department and shared the opportunity through the district website and social media accounts. Part of soliciting the feedback in this way allowed us to provide access through translated resources. And so you can just see a clipping up here from the webpage with the translation of the invitation to review the information. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Christy Gooding.
Thank you. Before we jump into the recommendation, we wanted to provide a little bit of information about the students that will benefit from these resources, our multilingual learners. As Dr. Boughton mentioned, over the past many years, our population of multilingual learners has almost doubled, and it continues to rise. So with that, we wanted to give a little bit more context about who our multilingual learners are and why we need some differentiated resources based on the needs. This adoption is specific to our secondary multilingual learners who come to us with a variety of assets and a variety of areas of need. And when we think about these students, we really can categorize them into one of 3 different groups, although within these groups, the needs may vary. So we think about the beginning level multilingual learners, they're typically considered newcomers. They're brand new to the country, typically less than 2 years, and they're at the very beginning levels of English proficiency. These students may or may not have formal education when they arrive to us, which, if you can imagine, in 6th through 12th grade presents some unique challenges. Our next group of multilingual learners are at the intermediate levels. These are students that have been in the program for anywhere from 2 to 5 years. They're developing their English proficiency, but they're not yet able to be successful without support and continue to need support. And again, they may or may not come to us with formal education from outside of the United States. Our final group are our long-term multilingual learners, and these are students that have been in the program for 5 years or more. Many of these students will enter the multilingual learner program as kindergarteners. Their proficiency has begun to plateau. So they're sort of stuck in acquiring English, and it begins to cause challenges across content areas. They need very different supports than the previous 2 groups, and you'll see that in our recommendation of resources. To help give a little bit more context, this is a snapshot of just our newcomers for the past 3 years. And you can see that's a group of students that have continued to rise over the years that are coming to us with very specific needs. As I mentioned, this is specific to our secondary, our middle and high schools. So we thought it would be helpful for you to kind of see the growth in students new to the country in each secondary school, and to see our active multilingual learners, our students that are still in the multilingual learner program for each of those secondary schools. And as you can see in every single one of our schools, that number continues to rise. So with that, we're going to move into our first recommendation for a resource. And this resource is specific to those students that are new to the country, our newcomers, because they do have very unique needs. The first resource that we're recommending is Get Ready Language and Literacy. It has 2 different levels, a level specific to middle school 6 through 8 and a level specific to high school 9 through 12. This resource was designed specifically for students that are entering middle and high school directly from another country with lower levels of English proficiency. And it has embedded supports for teachers to scaffold the literacy portion as well, so that when they have the students that come to us with limited or interrupted formal education, there are supports embedded within the curriculum for that. This instructional resource is being recommended because it is aligned to that WIDA standards framework that Shelley mentioned earlier. But as I mentioned, it's really important because it is specifically designed to meet the needs of those students that are coming to us directly from other countries. And it provides those specific supports for teachers based on students' prior formal education or lack thereof. So that if a teacher is attempting to teach a child to read that has never learned how to read, it will provide differentiated support for that. As part of the adoption process, in the field testing, we had 215 students provide us feedback on this resource and 13 staff members that participated. The graph that you see in the top corner represents 215 students in response to one of the 5 rating questions. The lesson was interesting. We chose that because we know that for students in middle and high school, if they don't find things interesting, it's going to be harder to keep them engaged. And so you can see they had pretty high ratings for that one. Overall, the feedback from both staff and students across the secondary schools was positive. And you can take a moment to read some of the student and teacher voice items that were in response to the open-ended questions. So with that, we're gonna jump into the resource itself. As I mentioned, Get Ready is middle school and high school. However, they have 10 age-appropriate thematic units that span across the needs of multilingual learners. Each unit, it has connections that begin with connections to language, phonics for those that need it, reading, grammar, but then it also connects to the different content areas because we know that language isn't acquired and learned in isolation. It has to be embedded in something engaging for students. So it connects to science, social studies, math, and electives. The culmination of each unit is a writing activity, a culminating project, and has media connections, which we know is going to be engaging for students. The first image you see is from the student book from Unit 1, the Connect to Language. Unit 1 focuses on introductions. When you think about students entering school, they're not able to introduce themselves because they are at the lower proficiency levels. But it doesn't stop there. It then continues on and connects to those content areas. The visual you see on the other side is an example of Connect to Mathematics from Unit 4, which is called My Day. So within each of those units, it has those connections. This is an example of one of the teacher resource pages. What we wanted to highlight here is that this is really connected to that language for social and instructional purposes, which is one of the WIDA standards. But within each and every one of the lessons, it has opportunities and supports for teachers to not just scaffold students into language, but to help students amplify their language. Because we know that we need to increase our expectations for students in order for them to gain in proficiency, and having it right there for teachers is going to be a huge benefit. This is an example from Unit 8, but this is one of the Connect to Science examples. But what you see here is that they still have the scaffold and amplify, but it looks very different because they're scaffolding and amplifying into the language of the content. It has a robust digital platform that allows for students to interact with the content using their devices. It includes supports and interactive practice for students, and one of the keys for our students that are multilingual is having that opportunity to practice using language. And so it allows opportunities for them to listen, see a video prompt, and then record themselves speaking so teachers can provide them with feedback. It also includes instructional resources for teachers, and school-to-home letters are available in 12 different languages, which will help with that home-to-school connection. And with that, I will turn it over to Allie.
Thank you. So like we mentioned, our multilingual learners are very diverse, and so there has been a different curricular resource recommended for our multilingual learners at the intermediate level and our long-term learners. And so the recommendation for many of our students and classrooms is LIFT, published by National Geographic Learning, to meet the needs of our multilingual learner program. It provides instruction across the ranges of English proficiency levels and needs, and it is also updated with the WIDA standards framework. So why this instructional resource? Again, it is specifically designed to meet the needs of secondary students, so it's very age appropriate with engaging content. It has the 6 levels for instruction, which will support alignment in curriculum and learning experiences across the secondary schools in our district. The resource is grounded in standards and supports accelerating language development so that we can ensure our students are successful across the grade levels and in the content areas, because really our goal is to support our kiddos so that they are successful and have access to grade level content and curriculum. Again, we received a lot of feedback from students and teachers. Our field testing window was a little bit shorter, a little bit more condensed. However, we still had 171 multilingual students provide responses, and 11 of our multilingual staff members as well. And so similar to the other curricular resource, you can see that there was a very positive response. The lesson was interesting. You can see that most of the kids ranked it as a 4 and a 5, so being very interesting. And the students' perspective on their experiences during the field test were very positive and really fun and exciting to review with the team as well. So I'll give you a moment to take a look at those. So we're going to jump into what the curriculum looks like. This slide shows an example of student materials, including text, the sequence of instruction for one reading selection, and also unit performance tasks. Some of the highlights for this curriculum include that the units center on an essential question. So this is Unit 5, Good Decisions, and there's a key question that all of the learning, the reading, the language, all revolve around that key question. There's authentic content with global perspectives. There's a variety of text and media. It's a very structured approach to building skills in literacy and language. There's academic speaking and writing in every lesson. And at the end of each unit, there's a service learning project connected to the unit. So there are skills along the way, but again, there's a culminating, meaningful activity at the end. This slide shows an example from the teacher resource, and just a couple pieces I would like to point out. There are specific supports to help teachers scaffold instruction for students at a variety of levels, including some options for reading, some specific instructional moves to provide differentiation, some think aloud prompts to provide models as you're teaching, and also daily formative assessments. Again, there is a robust digital platform. There is a lot in there. It's comprehensive. There are opportunities for students to interact directly with the content using their devices. Teachers can assign additional practice activities. Students can listen to text. This clip up here is nice. You see a little play button. So students can listen to the text and follow along, which will support their language development. The digital platform also includes resources for the teacher.
Right, and with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Christy.
And so we're going to take just a few moments to talk about the implementation support. As with any curriculum adoption, it's critical that we have ongoing professional learning to support the teachers that are implementing the curriculum. And both will require initial use training and then ongoing collaborative learning over the next 2 years. This will be really critical to the success of both the curricula resources. And we'll be leveraging Canvas to support teachers with the instructional mapping and district-created resources to support. In terms of the implementation costs, there are outlined here for you. The 6-year student material cost divided out over for the annual cost. Because this resource and the professional learning is specific to multilingual learners, it will be a combination of basic education funds and the transitional bilingual instructional program funds. And with that, I will turn it back to Dr. Bowman.
So with this adoption in our professional learning plan, we know that we're going to be able to better meet the needs of our students, our growing population of multilingual learners in our district. But not only does it help close achievement gaps, it's actually going to allow our staff to help our students to experience a high degree of success in their English language development, but also providing them additional access to the curriculum content at all levels in the secondary. So with that, we would invite questions from the board for anyone on our team about the process of the materials before asking for a recommendation to move it to second reading.
Are there any questions or comments?
I have questions. Yes. Yeah. So I have some pretty basic questions. I don't think I've ever really been in an ML classroom. So I think I've been in one where it was all Spanish-speaking students and the teacher was bilingual, which is probably a very different scenario. How does it work when you have a classroom of 20-some kids and they're all learning English at different levels, and you have a teacher that might be multilingual, but clearly not in the same capacity as the classroom?
It's astounding because that's the number one question most people have about multilingual learner teachers, which is, how do you do that? Yeah. And it's one of the reasons why really good, solid curricula is important, because many of our students who are, especially in the secondary level, have literacy skills, at least some level of literacy skills in their native language, whether they can speak fluently, whether they can write or read fluently. It really depends on those students. And we have students who are have really good strengths in reading English, but do not have strength in speaking or listening to English. And so the scaffolded strategies that we provide in some of this curricula and some of the instructional strategies like the sheltered instructional observation protocol, you might have heard SIOP before. We scaffold those learning pieces, anchoring onto students' previous knowledge and being able to help them move forward through the next. The other piece that we also do is, I think you've seen in a couple of board presentations at a work study session, is using Pocket Talks, a translator that's able to help in a situation to help students to provide and navigate through, whether it's the hallways or a classroom of, I'm not sure what I understand to do. The other piece that's really beautiful about being a one-to-one district is that often we have instructional materials online that can be translated into a number of languages. And frequently, you might see it often in some of our sheltered instruction classes where you have a blend of multilingual learners, maybe intermediate or long-term multilingual learners, alongside English-speaking students. And you'll see they'll have like their illustrative math worksheet, digital worksheet up, one window in English, the other window in Russian, and they flip back and forth and are able to dialogue and share information because they can understand the questions. So it is really challenging. It's different at the elementary level. At elementary, even if you speak English, elementary is frequently about acquiring the English language, if you think about a kindergartner who doesn't have lots of language. But the secondary is very unique because most of these students have some level of literacy, whether it's speaking, reading, writing, or listening, in their native language. So you anchor onto those pieces.
Yeah, It's very interesting. And so does this curriculum touch all of our languages in our district?
I will defer to my team if they have specific information, but what I will say is that there are resources, I think, in 12 languages that we can send out, but there are opportunities for us, because it's both digital and print, to be able to utilize translations online. And it's also about scaffolding, building that English language. So it's not necessarily, you won't find lots of other languages as they're working within the classroom, but they will actually be doing a lot of the English language building in the skills that they have. So when we use the WIDA data for each individual student, students are grouped in different classes. So you may be an intermediate level, but you might be at a level 2 instead of a level 3. And so we can actually schedule students so that they can be successful in developing their English language.
Yeah, it's incredible. I was surprised at just the 12 languages that you can, I mean, it's translation so much easier now these days.
It is, and it's getting better every time.
Yeah.
We also have a full-time language access coordinator who can help with translation into other languages if we needed.
One last question. I didn't see any timelines on either of these adoptions. Is it for next year?
It is for next year. We are actually beginning year 1 implementation training in June.
Summer?
Pending board approval.
Okay.
But we will be starting the implementation in June for both training for that, continuing some professional development for people who aren't able to do June participation in August, and for people who aren't able to do June or August, we will be providing release time during the school year, as well as a full implementation plan of support. So we'll be pulling teachers back together throughout the year, checking in, what needs to be tweaked, what needs to change, what was challenging, what was successful, so that we can continue that support through the adoption year 1. So next year, yes.
Next year. Thank you.
Yes.
So just a reminder for us in the public, the number of languages spoken in our district, ballpark.
Over 100.
It's over 100. Okay,
Yes.
fantastic. The slide on the multilingual learner needs and breaking them down, that was, that really got me thinking about the different types of learners.
Yes.
And how important it is to meet them where they're at, and how each student is going to have a different makeup of their strengths, and where they're going to be learning.
Absolutely.
But remembering that the goal is, if they're coming out, this is definitely an asset to be mastering 2 languages. So good for them, but how challenging it is.
Yes.
So appreciate this.
Thank you.
Questions or comments, students? I want to say that it is I just signed up to do more high school interviews coming up, and I think that's when I get to experience the multilingual learners, because I've seen all levels of I apologize for words I missed. I didn't hear anything wrong. Oh, thank you. Or I'm I'm doing this Duolingo, and I'm talking to my friends in my home country and making sure they speak English back, because so this per student's teaching and learning and in class. So thank you, but for that digression. But I was reading the curriculum for the intermediate and the long term, and I'm like, oh, I want to do that lesson. So, I mean, mind you, I'm not a high school kid, so hopefully they think it's engaging.
Yes.
But thank you so much.
Yes.
All your strong work, really.
Thank
So, I guess we'll, by general consent, move this on to second reading. So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
We've tightened up how we do things up here. Now we move on to unfinished business, section 14.0, and we have no unfinished business, which moves us on to section 15, new business. And Mr. Fleckenstein, you have 1 policy to bring before us tonight.
Well, thank you and good evening. Tonight, proposed revisions to policy 2410, high school graduation requirements, are presented this evening in response to final rules adopted by the State Board of Education for the 2024 graduation requirements emergency waiver, as we've referred to it as GRU waiver, for students graduating in the 23-24 school year whose education was disrupted by COVID-19 pandemic. The adopted rules allow schools districts to waive the graduation pathway requirement provided that the district has not also waived a core course requirement in the same subject for that student. The final rules now provide additional options for students to be able to graduate on time. The proposed revisions tonight have been previously reviewed by legal counsel and the superintendent's cabinet prior to tonight's meeting.
Are there any questions or comments?
We had this in another meeting before, but just as a reminder on the waivers, I think Dr. Willard had shared numbers at one point. That this is very it's not used very often. Would you be able to speak to that a little bit?
I don't know numbers, but I would agree with you that it is not used broadly.
I think that was the concern too, is that that waivers are not given lightly, in other words. But this does follow what we are allowed to do.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
I have a really boneheaded question. Foundational. I have a foundational question, and that is, in between the yellow highlighted sections, we say classes of 2021. Is there like a retroactive component of this?
We reference graduating classes in this particular policy because they are could be still active students. Remember, when they get to the age of 21, we can no longer have students, they have to matriculate out. So as long as it is what we would consider to be an active graduating class, we have them still embedded within our policy. We remove them once they are no longer an active graduating class.
So the nice thing about this policy is it's always sort of 3 years behind and 4 years ahead. So it's a perpetual changing policy.
Thank you.
Yeah. It is kind of confusing though to see 21, but those are the 21-year-olds. Yeah. Does that help? Okay, great. Well, we'll move that to a second reading. And now we'll move on to upcoming agenda items. Dr. Saltzman?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Board Directors, and the public. At the May 16th special meeting, our directors will be attending the WASA Region 109 Awards Ceremony. At the May 16th special meeting, board members will conduct the superintendent's evaluation. At the May 21st special meeting, board members will attend the Audit Exit Conference. On the May 28th regular meeting of 2024, the agenda contains the following. Recognition core value champions is learning. Recognition is the Washington Science and Engineering Fair Awards winners. Student representative selection. April financial report. Superintendent's contract. WIAA membership. Library instructional material surplus. Second readings for the Washington State history adoption, the secondary English development curriculum adoption, and policy 2410 high school graduation requirements for the May 24th meeting, Madam Chair.
Thank you. That takes us to executive or closed session where we have none. And so this brings us to a close of our May 14th, 2024 meeting. Thank you.